Welcome, listener. Today we're taking a deep dive into something you probably deal with dozens of times a day. The intersection. We tend to navigate them on autopilot, stop, go, turn. But your sources show that these junctions are actually the most dangerous environments on our roads. Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is to figure out why intersections demand so much judgment, so much timing, and what specific mistakes are causing the most serious crashes.
And that's really the key, because the statistics are, well, they're pretty stark. For a lot of big cities, your sources say that something like 40% of all traffic fatalities happen at or near an intersection.
40%. That's way more than on highways.
Oh yeah, it often outpaces highway accidents. It's the sheer density of decisions you have to make. You're processing signals, cross-traffic, pedestrians, other drivers' intentions, all at speed. It's a massive cognitive load.
So it's not just the physical crossing of roads. It's a mental bottleneck.
Exactly. An intersection is the ultimate high-demand zone. Think about it. On an open highway, you're really just managing one or two things. Your speed, the car in front of you.
Right.
But at a standard four-way intersection, you suddenly have, four directions of traffic, maybe a dozen different turning movements, pedestrian paths. And that's where you see that trifecta of human failure, misjudgment, hesitation, and just pure assumption.
When you say misjudgment, what are we actually getting wrong? Is it usually distance or is it speed?
It's often both. And it's magnified by this phenomenon called look but fail to see.
What's that?
It's when a driver visually registers an oncoming car, but their brain, which is busy looking for a gap or planning their turn, doesn't correctly process how fast that car is actually coming.
Saving.
And that leads directly to the deadliest collision types. The number one concern in the sources is the T-bone accident.
That's where you hit the side of another car.
Right. And it's so deadly because a car door just offers almost no protection compared to, say, the front or rear crumple zones. That and, of course, the left turn, which basically exposes your vehicle's side to all that oncoming traffic.
So the environment itself is almost designed to push our mental limits.
That's a perfect way to put it. And that brings us to how engineers try to manage all that complexity.
So before we get to the really high-risk stuff, let's just sort of map the playing field. The sources break them down into two main groups. First, you've got uncontrolled intersections.
Right, the ones you see in residential areas or out in the country. No signs, no signals, no markings, nothing.
And they rely completely on drivers just knowing the rules.
Yes, and on 100% cooperation. That's why they can be so dangerous. They demand instant, perfect decision-making from everyone involved.
Okay, and then you have the ones we see most of the time. Controlled intersections.
With stop signs, yield signs, traffic lights, the whole point is to impose order and create predictability.
But I guess predictability isn't always efficient. That's where we're seeing these newer designs pop up, right?
Exactly. They're trying to engineer out those potential conflict points we were talking about.
Okay, let's talk about those, starting with roundabouts. They're everywhere now, and they always feel a little chaotic, but I hear they're much safer. Why is that?
It's a fascinating bit of engineering solving a psychological problem. A normal four-way intersection has 32 potential points where vehicles could collide.
Wait, hold on. 32?
32! A well-designed roundabout reduces that number down to just 8.
How? That's a huge reduction.
It forces lower speeds, and it completely eliminates those right-angle or T-bone collisions. In a roundabout, traffic only flows one way, counterclockwise, so all you're doing is merging. And the one crucial rule is this. Entering traffic always yields to the traffic already circulating.
That makes sense. So even if you do have a crash, it's more like a sideswipe.
A low-speed sideswipe, which is far, far less severe.
Okay, what about in the city? We see those box junctions with yellow grid. I know you're not supposed to enter unless your exit is clear, but why is that so important?
So the box junction is less about safety and more about fighting gridlock. If just one car gets stuck in that box, it can paralyze 4 directions of traffic instantly. It forces you to think one light cycle ahead.
And then there's the weirdest one, the Diverging Diamond Interchange, the DDI, where you briefly drive on the wrong side of the road.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The DDI is basically designed to solve the problem of high-volume left turns onto a highway. It temporarily shifts you to the other side before the ramp, which means you can turn left onto the highway without ever crossing in front of oncoming traffic. It just engineers that conflict right out of the equation.
It's complicated to look at, but it sounds simpler to actually drive through.
It is. It takes the most stressful decision out of your hands.
So now that we've mapped the types, let's get into the threat assessment. Which ones are statistically the most dangerous?
Well, the geometry matters a lot. T-junctions, even though they look simple, are surprisingly dangerous.
Why is that?
It's all about visibility. The turning vehicle is trying to merge from a dead stop into what is often high-speed traffic. It requires perfect gap judgment, which a lot of people just don't have.
And the standard four-way crossroads.
High risk because of all those conflict points we mentioned, and just, confusion over who has the right-of-way. But the real high-risk trio, according to the data, is any uncontrolled intersection, any high-speed intersection, and any intersection with poor visibility. When you get a rural, high-speed, uncontrolled intersection, that's the worst of all worlds.
And it's not just the design, right? The sources talk about environmental dangers that make any intersection worse.
This is so important for defensive driving. Think about the sun. Impaired visibility isn't just fog or rain. It's that low evening sun that's right in your eyes as you approach an intersection. It can completely hide an oncoming car.
We've all been there. You're just totally blind for a second.
And it's also obstructions. A big delivery truck, overgrown bushes, even a poorly parked car can create a blind spot, especially for pedestrians or cyclists. That's why you have to creep forward to see around things.
What about the really big, complex intersections?
Yeah, multi-lane intersections are a challenge. People drift between lanes, they make improper changes mid-turn, and it's just really hard to judge gaps across 4 lanes of traffic.
Right.
Throw in some aggressive drivers, and you've got chaos.
The sources seem to have one clear piece of advice for all of this, kind of a mantra.
Yes. Reduce your speed before you enter the intersection. Don't wait until you're forced to stop. Arrive at the stop line with enough time to actually assess everything that's going on around you.
Let's talk about rules then.
Yeah.
Because the sources say confusion over right-of-way is maybe the single biggest cause of these accidents.
It really is.
So let's start with the big one, the difference between a two-way and a four-way stop.
The two-way is simple. If you have a stop sign, you yield. The only confusion is when people think it's an all-way stop when it isn't.
Okay, but the four-way stop, that's where things get interesting.
That's where the social negotiation happens. So rule 1 is easy. First to get there is the first to go. But what if 2 cars arrive at the same time?
Right, the tiebreaker.
The vehicle on the right always has the right-of-way. That's the rule. If 4 cars get there at once, you're basically relying on eye contact and someone being courteous. The rulebook kind of breaks down there.
What about at a traffic light? That's got to be the most dangerous move, right? The left turn on a solid green light.
It is. You're sitting out there in the middle of the intersection, feeling the pressure. For a left turn on green, you must yield to all oncoming traffic. The temptation is to try and sneak through a tiny gap, which is incredibly dangerous.
And a right turn on red. People seem to just roll through those.
Legally, you have to treat it just like a stop sign, a full, complete stop behind the line. Check for cars and pedestrians, and only then do you go.
Okay, let's circle back to the rarest one.
Yeah.
A totally uncontrolled intersection. No signs, no lights.
In that situation, you yield to any vehicle that's already in the intersection. If you both get there at the same time, the driver on the left has to yield to the driver on the right. And of course, the golden rule that trumps everything. You always yield to emergency vehicles and pedestrians in a crosswalk. No exceptions.
Okay, so let's get tactical. What do we do when the rules are clear, but the situation is just a mess, like in heavy traffic?
In heavy traffic, you have to shift your mindset from making progress to preventing problems. That starts with a safe following distance. Not just to avoid a rear-ender, but to give yourself an escape path.
And the sources have a really critical guideline for city driving.
The do not block the box rule.
You see people violate this all the time. The light turns green and they just rush in, even if the other side is backed up.
Exactly. Do not enter the intersection if you cannot get all the way through it. The moment you block that box, you cause gridlock for everybody else, and that just makes other drivers frustrated and aggressive. It's a vicious cycle.
That is such a key piece of advice.
Mm-hmm.
What about that stressful left turn in heavy traffic?
You have to be patient. Be prepared to wait through more than one light cycle to get a truly safe gap. And here's a tip. While you're waiting to turn, keep your wheels pointed straight ahead.
Why is that?
Because if someone rear-ends you while your wheels are already turned left, it'll push you directly into the path of oncoming traffic.
Wow. I never thought of that.
It's a small thing that makes a huge difference.
So if we pull it all together, the ultimate checklist for safety, it's really about being proactive, not reactive.
It is. Follow the signals, sure, but observe and be ready to yield first. Reduce your speed. Make sure your own car is visible. And use your turn signals early and consistently. Give everyone else a chance to know what you're doing. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about treating every single intersection as if it were uncontrolled, even if it has lights. Be predictable and assume nobody else will be.
So what does this all mean? Intersections are the gauntlets of our daily drive. They're where human error is most likely to have really, really bad consequences. The path to safety is, yes, mastering the rules, but more than that, it's prioritizing caution over just claiming your right of way. So our key takeaways are: slow down way before you get there. Remember, the vehicle on the right goes first at a four-way stop, and never, ever block the box.
Your sources really stress that you should never assume other drivers are going to yield, even when you clearly have the right of way. And that raises a really interesting question, doesn't it?
What that?
If driving is fundamentally a cooperative activity, how do we balance asserting our legal right of way with the absolute need to prioritize safety and avoid a crash? It makes you think about where the rule book ends and where that higher law of defensive driving really begins.
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.